What is going on, you guys? My name is Cody Thixton, and this is a Just Need podcast. Coming to you guys on March 24th, 2024 for episode 90, where today we have the return of a very, very special guest. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's get right into this. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to bring the return to you guys of Caden Cassidy. You there?
Yep. Can you hear me now? Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Yeah, my alarm came on. It was like, hey, reminder, you got a podcast to do. Oh, yeah. It was like, busy day. I got other stuff to do because I'm busy. How are you today, man?
I'm doing very, very good, man. It is an absolute pleasure to actually have the return and for you to actually sit here with us. Thank you so very much.
And of course, you know me. I'm easy like Sunday morning. I'm here to help. I was, when you invited me back, I was like, hey, man, I had a good time talking to you. You actually were probably the most professional podcast host that I've actually been a pleasure to be a part of, as you actually had not only phenomenal questions, you actually dug deep, which I really appreciate. Like, you're not just scratching the surface with the usual. You're looking for other alternative ways to ask, I would say, pertinent questions for fans and those alike.
Well, I really, really appreciate that, man. That means a lot to me. So, if we could actually start out for everybody who maybe doesn't know you, maybe you can reintroduce your name, where you're from, and what you've been up to since the last time that we talked.
I am Caden Cassidy. I am known as the bad life choice everywhere. I am known as the kingpin to some. Shoot. Let's see. It's confusing. I am from Atlantic City, New Jersey. I am residing currently in Portland, Oregon. And it is always hard because it's like, well, yeah, I've been residing here for over 20 years now. I am an Oregonian, but I still, in my heart of hearts, I am still a New Jerseyan. It is very difficult. As far as what I've been up to, man, it's been healing, learning, taking it easy, getting back in the swing of things. It's weird because it was 6 months and it felt like, it felt like so much longer than that. And it's such a weird feeling to be back in it with all the kids and the newbies who are coming in, the rookies, back in with the vets. And, you never really forget how to wrestle, but there's little things that you do forget, like the little, nuances, and I'm relearning them. I'm doing my due diligence and trying to make this return one of the best returns that we've had in this area. It's been really fun though, really fun time since January.
Yeah. So can you kind of explain to everybody who maybe doesn't know, what exactly
Sure.
did you go through as far as your injury and how long of a recovery period was it?
Sure. I had a hernia that went right through my groin, which, to be very graphic, it blew through my lower abdominal region into the groin, which then floated into my right testicle. So it was uncomfortable to run. It was uncomfortable to walk. Definitely uncomfortable to wrestle. I had that from February of 2023 all the way until August of 2023 when I got it repaired. I then had not one, not two, but five cuts into my abdomen to fix the burst and make sure that the wall was reinforced. I was then told that recovery would be starting off at 4 to 6 weeks of a lot of bed rest. I could barely walk. From there, it was waiting until late December to be able to resume any type of weightlifting. I was only able to lift 5 pounds at the very most, which for me as a father is very difficult. Like, I am all over my kids, love them, love showing how much I'm in love with them. I'm a very affectionate father, and I wasn't able really to hold them. So it was really tough. I was able to return and do some light work in January, but I was officially moving on my own in February. And a lot of people didn't know that. Oh, why aren't you doing this? How come you're not doing this? Doctor's orders. I'm not trying to bust that again. It's been a long road in a very weird sense. I think this is the longest injury that I've had. Uh, I've had a couple of my shoulders, wrist, fingers. I've had my jaw dislocated, and that was very weird to have to go through. But even that healed rather quickly. So yeah, it's been some time.
Yeah. So like how far into your whole recovery or everything that you had to go through was it where you really kind of felt like you had this itch to get back into the ring? Like how focused were you on like I want to actually be able to recover so that I can get back to that promised land?
Immediately. There's a lot of opponents that I felt I wasn't able to give them 100% me, and that bugs me a lot. For instance, Dark Sheik. Every time I see her, I always like apologize for not being ready for her when I first started, and that's what it felt like all over again. Um, I believe Evan Rivers, who's now from Canada going to Japan, been at Defy. He and I had a match, and I had not only did I have the hernia to deal with, I had a lung infection. I still wanted to go out there and perform, knowing that I couldn't breathe very well. So when you have those little regrets and you have the love of the game, you want to get back in almost immediately. Thankfully 5cc did me a great send off, and it really gave me it filled my cup enough that I could sit on that. I had my best friend walk me out to the ring, which was super awesome. I then again, right after that, I did a little hot sauce festival appearance, and then I did the surgery. And for a lot of fans, they weren't really sure what was going on. They just saw that I wasn't wrestling, but I was wrapped up and taped up, around my abdomen for almost a month, trying to keep anything from opening up. So it was hard, man, because you're watching Raw, you're watching Dynamite, you're trying to study, and all you want to do is get in the ring. All you want to do is go practice these new thoughts. I'm the guy that I'll be at a drive-through, like, yeah, I'll have one cheeseburger, extra pickles. Oh, it'd be dope if I just whip this guy to the boot. No fries, just a burger. It's so difficult. Even like something as simple as weight training, because I had this vision in my mind of what I wanted to look like when I got back, and I wasn't able to fulfill it because I wasn't able to do anything. I made a post on my Twitter a little bit ago that my doctor finally gave me the big thumbs up to, go light. And then I think it was last month, he was like, you can go heavy now if you want. And I got in my car. I swear to God, I probably did 75 in a 45. I was so excited to get on the on the freeway, get to the gym I go to, and start lifting again. I had the hard realization, hey, it's been a while. So that thing we do called lifting heavy, that's not happening. No. Deadlifts went from 495 to 505 area, all the way back down to barely 225 for a couple weeks. 315 felt like picking up at what Atlas picks up, the globe itself. And bench, I left. My bench was finally hitting 315 again. Anybody who knows me knows I have chronic shoulder issues, so being able to bench 315 was a blessing to begin with. But that went away, and it's very disheartening. You really have to shove down your ego and understand, like, this is going to be basically it's going to be a marathon. It's not going to be a sprint to get back. It just so happens that the person that I'm seeing also is my personal trainer, and it's lovely because It's like I know that I can trust her with how I want to look. I'm like, she's like, what do you want to like, what do you want to do? You want to cut down? Do you want to get bigger? And I'm like, I think it's time to start cutting. She's like, all right, let me take your food away. Prepare to feel less strong. Wait, no, wait. What do you mean one bowl of rice? No, So it's been all of that. To answer your question, it's been all of that and more. And I'm still here in love with it, no matter what. Like, this is what I do. This is what I enjoy to do. I'll do this, until I can't, and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So to like kind of like go along with my last question, it seems like because like there are like certain times where like I kind of get like an itch to want to stream something, do something, you know what I mean? And so it's
Right.
like, how did you kind of carry yourself through that whole period until you could actually relieve that itch? Like, what was your method of distracting yourself?
Um, Most people know this already. I did a lot of theater training all through high school. I did 3 years of theater. When I graduated, I got into a theater-based like boot camp. Did a lot of improv. So it was taking time to work on the other elements of the character. You know, I naturally gravitate towards dark characters. So it was doing research. I would watch American Gangster, and I'm watching Denzel kind of go through his stuff. I'm watching Kingpin in the Daredevil movie, because Michael Clark Duncan wasn't the problem. The movie itself's the problem. Michael Clark Duncan was a menace. That guy is 6'6", 365 pounds. I am running for my life if that man comes after me. So it's Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, his mannerisms. It's watching tape and watching Test do his thing. Revisiting old matches is whatever I can do to keep my mind busy. Like, one of my favorite match from last year was me versus Crash Test Cody. Because it was the brutality of it all. It was just two guys hitting each other where they could, as hard as they could. No flips, no crazy stuff. It was just, I know I'm going to beat you until you can't move. I'm going to give you what I possibly can, and I'm going to keep this title. So rewatching that and thinking, what can I do better? And then, thankfully, excuse me, a lot of the promoters wanted to give me more work on the sidelines. Like POW gave me some work to do. DOA gave me some work to do. A couple other promotions in Cali and so on reached out. But I'm done. I can't do much right now, which hurts. But yeah, you keep your foot in it, your hands in it, whatever you possibly can do. Like, if you don't have to go away, then that's good for you. We're on the indies, so it's like, I have to get my money somewhere. I have to, go ahead and do what I possibly can do to make sure that I'm occupied with wrestling. And man, like, I can't imagine what that would have been like. Like, thinking of a Randy Orton who can't go near it. I can't visit WWE when they're in town because it'll make me want to mess up. I remember when he said he got shoulder surgery and he messed it right back up getting in too early. Batista got their bicep repaired. Saw Randy get back in the ring, started doing wind sprints, and I can do wind sprints, right? He tripped, and on the way to catch himself from tripping, he blew his bicep again. Was on the shelf longer. So yeah, you just gotta play the game. Be smart about it.
Yeah. So like you were kind of just bringing up about like digital studies is how I would really characterize it. So like, how important is that for you to not only be able to look back on your old footage, but look at new footage and like be able to critique how they are doing something, or maybe how you don't want to mess up something based off of their experience, and then also be able to coordinate that with your past experiences and the matches that you watch on what you've done. Like, how is that kind of gauging?
I think for me, we just being humble and giving yourself grace is always going to be the way to go about it. I know that if you were to put us in the room together, Shane Taylor and I wrestle very similar. We've said this, together, like, we have very similar styles for not watching each other. He has no reason in the world to have ever watched me. And although I watched him, I didn't watch a lot of him. So it was actually very funny to do both matches that we had and realize like it's like watching a mirror. He's born in December. I'm born in November of the same year. His dad is exactly like my dad. It's very crazy to me. So like, when I watch these guys, I'm watching to see, okay, if I was wrestling them, what can I do here? What can I bring to the table? I'm never just thinking about me, like, oh my God, okay, let me go ahead and just do this slam and do that slam and then taunt the crowd and blah, 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 blah. That's fine. I can do that whenever I want. I'm thinking, what can I give them? Like, if it's a Samoa Joe, what can I do to make Samoa Joe look incredible? If it's a Chris Jericho, okay, I'm going to go for the senton. He's going to roll out the way. He'll grab my legs, get me into the lion tamer. I'll, throw my legs this way. He'll flip, duck the line, get it again, that kind of stuff. Like, for me, it is so much fun to watch even the little guys. Like, one of the guys that a lot of people actually sleep on is Vinci, who's an Imperium. I'm like, Vinci's phenomenal. Would love to wrestle that guy. Simply because I know he has to move around this big ass brick wall of a human being myself. And he's so smooth with it. I always say, like, there's people who are smooth, and then there's people who are like, a beautiful, like beautiful chaos. Like a Brody. I always think Brody's like beautiful chaos. Like, you're not going after to be the smoothest wrestler in the world. You're out there to hurt mother effers and have a good time doing it, but doing it in the safest way possible. Terry Gordy, same thing. So like when I'm watching these guys, I'm looking for not only, hey, what can I do with them? What can I learn from them? Obviously Samoa Joe is a big influence for me. And one of the reasons why is because Samoa Joe was told no by a lot of important people, WWE especially. And he went out there and kind of said, well, F the game. I'm going to go do it how I got to go do it. Reinvented himself from the, the bleach blonde hair guy and the jeggings to, the badass that we know and love today. And it works. Always looking at a Stan Hansen. Stan Hansen is so good. I still to this day am shocked. I had no idea who he was until I started in 2013. And then if you want to go even further, okay, great. I had no idea how good Dr. Death Steve Williams was. I'm like, you're 6'2", monstrous 305. Like, this dude, I'm a big dude. You've met me in person. You know I'm a big dude. That guy's bigger than me? No thanks. Mr. Williams is really upset with you. He wants to go talk to you. You can tell him he can have my whole paycheck. I want none of that. I'll put the beers on my credit card. We're good to go. Yeah, so like, I'm always looking for an influence. When I look at guys who are today, Big Bad Kaiju, love watching him work. O'Shea Edwards is a dream match of mine before I'm done. He's very inspirational, firefighter, killer wrestler. His Ring of Honor run was awesome. I think he's about to do some Japan work. So I watch his stuff. Like I said, it's just, there's so many things you got to look at. You can't just go in there saying, well, you can watch wrestling for the sake of wrestling. But I'm always looking at, okay, these are the things I need to look for. I'm going to break them down the best I possibly can. I'm going to take what I possibly can. I'm going to start writing out spots and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if we could kind of like start to talk about kind of like the whole backstage area.
Sure.
I like. I'm pretty sure you have seen the movie The Wrestler in 2008 with Mickey Rourke.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah. And there's this one scene where he is kind of going backstage and everybody is like getting set up. They're wrapping the tape around their wrists. They're sitting there communicating on exactly what they want to do. And before we really dive into, I just want to ask you how it feels to go into a backstage area and everybody is kind of working towards the same thing, like building a good show. So how is it kind of stepping into that environment as a professional wrestler?
Man, it is a whole thing. There's guys stretching, there's guys putting hot stuff on them, the oil makes your veins, everything pop, makes you more vascular. There's guys going over their matches in the corner, trying to, because it's like a concert, I need to make sure I have everything locked down. I can tell you the first time I remember being in the back room, you got young Wade Hess, young Drexel, walking back there with their leather jackets going complete badasses. Love them both. Like two of my greatest mentors in the Pacific Northwest are those guys. They know it. I tell them that all the time. Like, I love you guys, and when they're mad at me, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I love you. You know that, right? And then you have the guys in the corner listening to music, trying to vibe out so they can get into the character. Maybe they're listening to their character's music. Maybe they're like going through their matches. You got crazy mother effers like Funny Bone, who's doing his makeup, getting into character. And Funny Bone cracks me up because Funny Bone goes from like boots, let's see, boots, black sweatpants, and like a black metal shirt or whatever the heck he's wearing. And then you see him later on, like, bro, you're jacked. Biceps are all crazy. Your traps are popping out. Chest is like $1 million. Got the abs popping. And then the voice goes to this, and everything's a F you and F that, and looking like Eddie Brock's son. It cracks me up. Love that dude. And these are the guys that I look up to. So it's like going to work is not a chore for me. It's a pleasure. These are the guys who've done it the longest. These are the guys who I look up to, who continue to do it at the highest level in this area and above. Learning from them, talking to them, even just like listening to their banter about other things that aren't wrestling, just give you a different worldview. Mm-hmm. Like, did not know that Drexel was once a DJ. Oh, so music. Oh man, I love rap. I love rock. I love, I'm like, whoa. And you would never really catch that. Funny Bone, me and him was talking about Wu-Tang. And I was like, I would have never in a million years thought you listened to Wu-Tang. And then proceeds to record himself, going over the song Triumph. And I'm like, love this MF. Love him. Like, I'm like, yeah, Bob Atomically. All right, let's go. It's so cool. Knows the whole thing off the top of his head. So, like, for me, in my wildest dreams, like, I may have said it when I left high school that wrestling was going to be what I do. I would have never imagined being around such incredible people, every weekend, if not every other weekend. Even like sharing a locker room with someone like Leo Rush, who he's been around since before I even got in. He's just younger than me. Seeing my homie Nick Wayne come back and being able to listen to him talk about his stories at AEW. His mama, who's like a big sister to me, Shauna, able to listen to her talk about what she's doing with AEW whenever I catch her. Seeing someone like Alan Angels, man, how was AEW for you? How was Prestige? Blah, 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 blah. Seeing my good buddy, Ricky and Eddie, who Ricky's been wrestling since way before I've been wrestling, but it's crazy. I still learn from that guy watching Eddie like apply himself and apply himself and apply himself, and then watching him get in the zone and becoming that guy, becoming Eddie Pearl is incredible. You're watching a metamorphosis right in front of you. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Hardly ever do we have backstage drama. It's very rare because a lot of us, we're the newer crowd. Not a lot of heavy drinkers, no drug users, and like that. It's just, a lot of us talking about our favorite movies, our favorite games. Some of us talk about nostalgia, like the new X-Men show that came out, X-Men 97. We're all talking about like, oh my God, I'm so hyped to see that. I can't wait for it to come out, blah, 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 blah. Which you got to imagine is you get some big old buff and super in shape people back there talking about, oh my God, I can't wait to see Jubilee and Wolverine. And, it's like, oh yeah, we're all nerds. Every one of us. Me, Marcus Erics and I, God, I love that guy. He's so cool. We were talking about the new Final Fantasy. And I'm like, it's so funny because if you look at both of us, you got this big towering man in dark sunglasses and a trench coat. And then a guy in a spiked vest with spiky hair talking about, okay, so like I'm like 30 hours in the game, I'm right here. It's like you never see it coming. Tom Lawler was like, you're a big nerd. He's like, dude, I saw your picture. I'm like, who is this big badass? Then I'm listening to you. You're like, who is this nerd? I'm like, I'm sorry, I disappointed you, man. I can't help myself. I was a nerd before I was a wrestling fan.
Oh, that is awesome. So, another question I wanted to ask you based off of the wrestler movie is that in that same exact scene, there's these two wrestlers that are sitting there talking about like you should kind of go for the neck, like really work that over in the match. And then he looks over and the other person is like, well, we're working the leg, and he's like, oh, you're working the leg. Okay. Like, and kind of like coordinating because like, you can't really have like one wrestler or a series of wrestlers working on moves. Otherwise it kind of devalues the move in which you're actually trying to portray. So how is it kind of coordinating with all of the other wrestlers and being like, what do you want to bring in the ring that maybe I have to be aware of so that it actually adds value?
You're supposed to be a professional. If you have a certain thing you're going for that someone else does, you need to go talk to them. There's a booker, there's a promoter, and there's the agent. The booker is typically around. The agents are usually around. The agents are typically the veterans of the area who happen to be in the locker room, and they will go around asking everybody, what are you doing? What are you doing? Or the booker will say, this is what I have for you. This is my idea. What do you think? Let's go for it. And, when you're working specific weak points in a match, the psychology of it is, like, for instance, I do a clothesline to the back of the neck, but I also do a flipping reverse cutter. So I am going to work the neck, right? There are certain matches where I have to slow it down and work a body part because they're bigger than me. So I have to work on this particular part to weaken them up. If it's a guy who's smaller than me, my psychology is I'm going to bully the shit out of you. I'm going to make you hurt. As Leo Rush, when he saw me for the first time back in 2022, he was like, man, the way you walk towards people is so menacing. I said, I know what you're talking about. He's like, what is it? Like the dark side walk. Dark side? I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, so when Darkseid walks at Superman, because he's like 8'9" to Superman's like 6'1", that's a powerful walk. So you talk about these things with your peers because your peers are able to kind of give you their perspective, or you don't want to step on toes. Like if you got a Randy Orton back there, or even like let's say like someone like Carlito is in the back at an independent show. You are supposed to ask, based on certain things in your match, are you doing this? Because if you are, I don't want to do it. Mm-hmm. And if they are doing it, it's really up to, typically the veteran if he's going to give it up.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm working the arm today in this fashion. Oh, I was going to do it in a similar fashion. You know what? Let me go ahead and just not do that. I'll do it this way. You know, it's not as complicated as it seems, but it's one of those things like it is etiquette. It is wrestling etiquette to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. So before I know I want to actually ask you about pro wrestling etiquette. And before we actually get to that, I want to ask you about pro wrestlers court. So like how would it kind of be like coordinating with that whole ordeal? Like actually having to go to pro wrestlers court or have all of these wrestlers like kind of dictate what's going to happen and whatnot. Like, can you kind of walk us through that a little bit?
I mean, wrestling court isn't really a thing much anymore like it used to be. I mean, it was before my time. I can say there's things like that that does happen, and I have been a part of it. You know, and it just depends on the severity of you know, whether you got stuff in someone's bag or you stepped on their gear, or maybe you messed up their gear. Maybe you were a little unsafe in the ring, or you got careless, and they'll pull you to the side. We need to talk and go for it. You know, one of the things with wrestling is, first of all, accidents happen. You know, we've seen it at the top level with D'Lo Brown and Puke draws. We've seen it, with Shinsuke Nakamura versus John Cena. And that's when you will stop. You go to the back, and it can be just those two. It could be those two and another party to make sure nothing gets ugly. It can be as many people as they need to. Because, like, let's say you were a repeat offender. Now we need to get everybody involved. What are we gonna do about this?
Yeah.
Because this dude's hurting folks. I've actually done it. I did a forearm smash. I was going for a forearm smash on my opponent's chest, and their head went back down into a position that was unsafe. And what ended up happening is I went for the forearm smash, but I ended up smashing their nose. Right. So it's like you got to imagine this big, heavy arm is coming for your chest, but your nose is there now. Oh my god.
Mhm.
And you know, I had someone come down there. It was like, you know, hey man, you messed up, blah 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 blah. And then you know, the actual person it happened to was like, I'm not even mad. I was like, really? I was like, oh no, it hurt. He said, but how'd that receipt feel? Like, awful. He's like, then we're square. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, hey man, I need to buy you like 4 bottles of Jack Daniels. I mean, be nice. You know, for the guy whose nose got messed up, the first thing I did was say, if you're going to the doctor, I'm going to pay your copay. You let me know what your copay is. I'll take care of it. Or, hey, uh, this dude's tooth is loose because you gave him a clothesline and his head was in the right position. Oh, that's on me. Do you need me to call your dentist for you in the morning? Do you need me to pay for it? What can I possibly do for you? Like, these are the things we have to do.
Mhm. Yeah, and like I guess that kind of also like coincides with being or like professional and having that etiquette. So like can you kind of explain to everybody exactly what professional wrestling etiquette is in the most
Sure.
perfect
Yeah.
light?
First of all, don't steal anybody else's shit. Like, if you know that's theirs, don't steal it. If they have gear and you have gear, you know, you have gear and it matches a little too closely, that's a problem. Um, we call that gimmick infringement. Like, everybody knows I have the fancy jackets. The reason I went to the fancy jackets was because everybody wanted to start doing fur coats and leather jackets. So I said, no one does pea coats in this area. I'm gonna start dolling up pea coats. But if somebody else started dolling theirs up and coming out with them, or maybe they even have a song that's too similar, that's a problem. That is a lack of etiquette, and we need to have a conversation. Um, I do a reverse lariat, a northern lariat. If somebody on the card wants to go do that in the match, you are devaluing my move. It's what Shawn Michaels used to say. You got me, Stevie Richards, and then at one point, Dolph Ziggler, all doing the super kick. It's devaluing mine.
Mhm.
I'd sooner you not.
Yeah.
I
No,
apologize.
no,
That is a lack of coffee.
no, no, it's good. So, like, do you think that, like, with going with that, would like you don't want to bring in maybe another character that is similar to another character? Do you think that people who book professional wrestling shows or book pro wrestlers also have to look at those differentiating things or maybe similarities and kind of decide who they're actually going to book and who they're not?
Absolutely. I mean, for instance, there's times where it's just fine. Again, you got me and Shane on the same card. We are very similar. We're both big black men with big old black beards who are big black and bald. Yeah, we are very similar. The difference is Shane is more of a striker. I am definitely more of a grappler, where I'm going to throw the hell out of you. That is definitely going to be something that I would look more to. You have on the other side where it's a good thing you're doing it, where you have a Su Young, you have a Drexel, you have a Funny Bone, which I forget what they call their trio. The first thing I said was the three from hell. Like, the Undead Bride, the Demigod of Death, the Homicidal Artist, all in the room together. That is a room I need to get out of as fast as I possibly can. I feel like it really just depends, man. That's just the answer. I would not like it if somebody had a similar gimmick to me. Like, I know like right now at DOA, I am the Kingpin, Caden Cassidy. And then you have the Black King, Deontay. And I was like, can I ask you a question, bro? I was like, yeah, man. I know you've been the Black King for a hot second, but what are you the king of? Because I'm gonna need to figure this out. I need to differentiate us. It's like, oh, it ain't that serious, man. It is that serious. That's it. Fans say, all hail, long live the king, and make way for the king for me. If they start saying that for you, it kind of irks me a little bit, rubs me the wrong way. We start trying to figure it out, and eventually we got on the same page, and we were just fine. But it is professional etiquette to understand that we can't do that. Number one, as the booker, and that as wrestlers, we should make sure we don't stepping on toes.
Yeah. So, how would you kind of explain that whole seriousness? Because I feel like there's just this whole view on professional wrestling, whether you're a professional wrestling fan or you're not, where people will kind of look down on pro wrestling and be like, "Oh no, it's not that serious." But like you take it like very, very serious. Like this is your character. So it's like, how is that kind of trying to explain to people or portray that seriousness?
First of all, the more serious you take it in terms of how you've designed it, how you've written it, how you produced it, the better, because that means that you want that best product out there. Let's say you own a bottling company and you get a bad batch of beer. It's only okay. It doesn't have the exact same bite as the last IPA you created. Are you going to put that out there? No. It devalues your product. Oh man, see, I had that beer, bro. Wasn't that great? When did you have it? And then it becomes harder and harder to convince folks to go ahead and try it again. With my character, man, and I'm not trying to get too personal here. I have always lived my life for two people. My older brother passed away. He passed away a couple years before I was born, but he died of SIDS. So in my mind, the Kingpin is a way for me and Michael to live that life. I get to do all these crazy things. I get to travel. I get to go ahead and go do all these things for wrestling. But, to me, I like to go out there with the idea that I need to make Michael impressed. I'm doing this for him and for me. So that's how I have to think. So when I go out there, I have to get in the zone. Like the moment my music hits and I hear a bum 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 bum, I'm like, all right, it's a mental countdown. I got 30 seconds, and you have to almost like look at it. It goes from stretching and breathing, and then I'm like little by little I'm getting amped up, and I'm riling myself up. I'm gritting my teeth. By the time I'm done, I'm flexing every single muscle. Everything is tense, and then I hear "Make way for the king," and it's like, okay, I got it. I got the essence back. I know what I'm doing here. I can't imagine not taking it as serious. When people try to tell me it's not that serious, bro, it is. It's my art. Imagine if Picasso never took it serious. Da Vinci never took it serious. Hemingway never took the job serious. I can go on and on and on. Joel Schumacher never took it serious. Never made The Lost Boys. Never made Batman Forever. Thank God, that would have been a godsend. And so on and so forth. You need to take your job serious. Don't get me wrong. Don't be a dick in its seriousness, but pamper it. Like, I'm certain as a fellow geek, you have thought of things you would love to create in that world. Could you imagine if someone told you, well, Cody, it's not that serious? Yes, it is. Like, right? It's almost blood boiling right there, right? It's like, bro, this is me getting this out here. This is me finally living my truth and putting this to paper. And you just try to devalue my work.
Mm-hmm.
It is that serious.
Yeah. That is so interesting. So, could you kind of also expand on that as far as people's unawareness of professional wrestling and maybe the toll in which it takes on a human body? Is that
Jesus.
something that oh, go ahead.
No. Like, dude, that's a loaded question. I'll make that as short as possible. People like to say, "Oh, it's fake," and that's like their way of excusing it. I said, "Well, excuse me. Let me ask you a question. When you watch the stunts in your movie and you're sitting here freaking the hell out because John Wick just blew your mind, do you say that's fake and just simply throw it out the window? No, you don't. You're sitting here like, oh my God, I can't imagine someone giving me that go-go plata from this position, or taking this shotgun and the shotgun spreads fire, or this guy got hit by 4 cars. He's a goddamn monster. No, you didn't do that. Or maybe you're like me and you watch, martial arts films. I still watch Jackie Chan films from the 90s. Oh, bro, it's all fake, so whatever. Okay, but he had to practice to get that good at this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I think of wrestling. Yeah. It's not fake. It's practice. It's practice makes perfect. It is continuum of putting in the work consistently, but you are still going to get hurt. It is watching guys like Spencer Scott go up and do crazy swantons. I'm sure his upper back and neck is stiff after landing from 6 feet up and rolling up his spine. Mm-hmm. I am certain an Eddie Guerrero hurt whenever he hit that frog splash a certain way. I am certain that a Fit Finlay match hurt like shit. You know what I mean? Sometimes, man, that's also what we're looking for. That's my Jones, man. I love the thrill of battle. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's the theater kid in me. Maybe that's the fighter who did martial arts as a kid. I love that feeling that we are about to go out there and tell the story of 2 larger-than-life characters who have met at the crossroads, or as I usually say, the interstitial of violence, this small pocket where we have to bring out the most violent pieces of us for this crowd to display. It takes a toll, dude. Like, I got hit with the chair in April of last year so hard the chair bent. Chris Brady took a choke slam from the top of a ladder and bounced like on his bump. People who have jumped over the top rope and maybe their toes tapped just wrong. Now they're crashing and burning on the hardwood floor. It's a lot. I mean, dude, I have shoulder issues from going over the top rope Royal Rumble style, and my shoulder split. Like, it's still the worst injury I've had to date. I got super kicked, and I didn't put my hand up in time, and my jaw got dislocated. It shifted from left to right, and I had to bring it back to place. It still cracks every morning, every night. The toll this job takes on you when we hit that mat is equivalent to a 35-mile-per-hour car crash every single time. Now, I'm blessed. As a big dude, I don't have to bump at all if I don't want to. I can literally tell the story and do just the one or two and be gone. If I'm fighting a guy my size, I might do up to 5 at the very most. And that's good. I'm protecting myself. But the young guys, the guys who are smaller than me, they're going to feel it the most. Your knees sound like a cement mixer. Your lower back is radiating pain before you can get out of bed. You can't get enough ibuprofen and hope to God it stops hurting. For me, it's CBD rubs and balms on my lower back, my left, my right hip. I'm going to go stretch. I'm going to do the splits on my right on my floor. I'm going to go ahead and do whatever yoga pose I can possibly do to help stretch everything and then go from there. But man, I meet people who can barely walk, who can barely throw a punch, people who, when you look at them, you how many concussions have you had? Because you're starting to sound a little punchy. It's hard, man. But that's the thing I don't think a lot of people get. It's not it's an obsession. Not really. It's the love of the art. It's going out there and putting smiles on kids' faces. It's going out there. My surgeon today, I had to do a follow-up with him, I said, I really envy what you can do for people and how you're able to help all these people in the sports with their hernias. And he's like, honestly, Cass, I love what you do. I've watched your matches, and I love that you're throwing people around. You're being yourself. I'm like, yeah, this is me with all inhibitions off. I've turned off every switch that holds me back. I'm going to go out there and say what I want to say, do what I want to go do, and have a good time. But when I go home, bro, those heated seats are on.
Yeah.
I walk in the house, try to get my back to pop or move. I'm on the road sometimes for 3 to 5 hours and try to find healthy food. It's tough, man. But you do it because there's nothing like it. My girl, we weren't dating at the time. We weren't even thinking about it, to be honest with you. She came out with me at 5cc for the last show. And I said, let me ask you a question. After you got that big shot, how did it feel? She's like, scary and very intimidating. But once the adrenaline hit, I felt so good. I'm like, exactly. When I'm not at work and my theme song comes on my phone, because of course it would, my body goes through the same metamorphosis it does at a show. I'm just that trained. I start walking different. My Jersey accent starts coming back a little bit. My shoulders are full flex. My traps are out. I'm ready to kill.
Mm-hmm.
And but the moment I go back to being just Todd, everything hurts again. Like, oh my God, I gotta lay on a pillow for my hip. I take CBD to go to bed so I don't, I can get some actual sleep. When I was married to my wife at the time, you don't cuddle. Do you know what it's like to lay on a shoulder that feels half broken? Or I got thrown over the top rope and it was totally on me. My leg got caught. And the way I had landed was if you ever look up Booker T, look up the Harlem Hangover, it's a flipping leg drop off the top rope. I basically did that into a crisscross applesauce from the top rope in a lifted ring. When I say, oh my God, Oh my God. like, like when you do something stupid and you're like, yeah, that hurt. Right? No, dude, it hurt so bad. I heard ringing in my ears. I heard absolute silence. God was like, I done told you about that, boy. Sit your ass down. St. Peter? Yeah. It's tough, man. But again, I'm so inspired by my teachers. I know what Funny Bone puts himself through to get those matches done. How hard he has to work to memorize everything to make it work. How much pain he goes through those hardcore matches. Does he love it? Absolutely. But there's times where I watch my friend in Rival, and I'm just like, I wish I could pay money for you to go somewhere so you can heal. I know that shit sucks, but you can't stop. Because when you stop, they forget about who you are.
Yeah.
Though some of them will wish that you were still around, but like the crowd doesn't pop the way it used to anymore. Maybe the crowd doesn't sing your music. Merch doesn't sell as much as it used to anymore because during your hot streak, you took a break. It's tough, dude.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, I wanted to ask you two questions about combat sports. Okay.
Sure.
So the first one is could you imagine if Amira were to ever perform in an MMA fight? What do you think we would actually experience if she were actually in that environment?
I can't put into words like what Amira is, but if I had to give her like anything, I would say that she's an incredibly hard worker. She just wants to be the best she can be every day. She eats right, she trains right. If I was to put that mindset in how just determined she is, like she's all business. Like most people, I can get them to laugh, get them to kind of like loosen up. She is all business. The moment she's there, she has that Ronda Rousey, like old school Ronda Rousey, like approach. Whatever it takes to get it done, I will get it done. If I have to go to the steam room for 2 hours to get this weight off, I'm gonna go to the steam room for 2 hours and get the weight off. And so when I think about her learning MMA, learning jujitsu, learning judo, learning boxing, learning even like a close quarters combat, like I know she could do it. It's only a matter of time before she masters it, because that's just who she is.
That is insane. Yeah, I've always actually, I know when I was actually speaking with her, I had told her that I could kind of see in my head her in that whole like old school, like you said, Ronda Rousey mindset and whole presentation, and her just annihilating people.
I think so too. Amira has a lot to prove, as a woman, as a rookie. She's also out there making somebody proud, whether it be, her mom or her deceased father. Like she is pure grit and determination. Like outside the ring, she's earned my respect. In the ring, fuck her. No, I'm kidding. But you're so mean to her. Like, it's like having a kid sister a little bit. It's like, I'm gonna slam you on the bed. I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna do all this. Don't tell mom, okay?
Oh, that is awesome. And so the second thing that I wanted to bring up to you when it comes to combat sports is I'm pretty sure you've seen on social media everything kind of going around Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. So
Jesus Christ.
So if you had to make a prediction for that match, what is your prediction?
Let me tell you something. I've never met Jake Paul. I've met Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson is an intense man. There's very few people on this earth that I say have an aura about them. he has the aura. Mike Tyson, in my opinion, is a man out of time. He was born simply in the wrong century. Obviously, being a black man, that sounds absurd, but he is a warrior's warrior. He empathizes with his monstrous side. He knows he created it just to get the work done, but he also enjoys it, right? It's like, oh, how could you do that? How could you be this person? How could you be the executioner? I don't like beheading people, but then you watch them do it, and they got a smile on their face after everything's said and done. It's like, you disgust me. I was watching Tyson just last night. I was watching Jake Paul, to be fair. Jake trains obviously for agility and cardio, which is what a boxer does. Mike is training for what, from my opinion, power and agility. And it's crazy. Like, I'm watching this dude knock around every sparring partner he has at 58. Like, he's 2 years younger than my father, and he looks like he will put it on you. It's crazy to me. But as everybody else says, man, if Tyson doesn't win, it's just rigged.
Yeah. I think like the only thing that like I'm really really interested in is everybody's kind of body movement, because that's really really going to be like a big chess game, because you can obviously see that like Jake Paul has the speed and the agility, but so does Mike Tyson, but he also has that one big punch. So if Jake Paul gets hit by that one punch, it's over.
Night night.
Yeah.
Good night. Hope you have some good rest. Hope you saw your ancestors, but you was at it. Hope they told you they're proud of you. But no, it's Mike Tyson told me a story about how when he went to prison, it was like the Wild Wild West, and people weren't as weary of him because he had a loss under his belt. And he said it was him and his cellmate, and they went to the chow line, got their food, sat down, they got oatmeal and something else, and this dude unzipped his jumper and threw his member in the guy's oatmeal. He says, I don't think I've ever been that pissed in my life. And like the way he told the story, he's like, yeah, I stood up and was like, all right, mother effer, let's go. Let's go. And I'm like, okay, you doing. I mean, I'm mad about it. I ain't that mad about it. I think, like, hey man, that sucks. You want to go back up there and see if they'll give you another bowl? This guy, they were like, no, I'm ready to go. I mean, you just got here. Chill.
Oh,
wild to me. So I really do feel like they're going to make it seem like Jake won, just for the fact that you can't turn off that kid's aura. He's a draw. Yeah. Everybody wants to beat him. Good. Keep the fight going. Let it seem like he's unstoppable. And then you just keep adding more and 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 more. You get more pay-per-view buys. You get more money for everybody else to make. Tyson's bringing home $50 million. That dude is bringing home $50 million at 58. Bills is paid, bro. I do it too. Jake Paul's taking home like 10. Cool. Have your 10. I got 50 million reasons to get up in the morning and go train. Mike Tyson just in, I think it was September of last year, had a beer gut. First time I ever seen it. He has abs today.
Yeah.
It's wild to me, bro.
Well, that is so awesome. I know I definitely wanted to hear your perspective on that. And something that I kind of noticed when I was going to like DOA shows or looking at all of the promotions in the Pacific Northwest, like we don't really have like steel steps like the WWE or AEW does. So do you think that like we would ever incorporate that? And how would you interact with those steps when it comes to throwing yourself or throwing your opponents into them?
I have wished that we had steel or aluminum steps for a while now. I think the biggest thing is just the price of them, but also safety. Because
Mhm.
the WC had them, but they were like the 1960s, 70s ones. Whereas for me, man, I'm looking for like the WWE, AEW ones because it just looks better.
Mhm.
If I was somebody like for me, man, I'm 318 to 20 pounds. A senton or a splash is always going to look impressive because we all know, oh, that sucks. So if I was gonna do it, I'm going to lay the guy across that, whether it be chest first or back. I'm probably gonna leap off the apron. I'm gonna hit a senton. I'm gonna stand up. I'm gonna look back at this jamoke behind me and be like, "That's mother effing right. Who the f do you think you're talking to? I don't know why you got." You know, I tell the story all the time. Ryan Davidson said, "What's your finisher, kid?" I said, "I call it the bad life choices." He says, "We ain't calling it that. We ain't calling it that no more." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you were the bad life choice. Who would mess with you?" You know. I said, "Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right." So that's me in a nutshell. I would love to see them make a comeback. I know that we have the Expo matches coming up next month in DOA, which I'm very excited for. We get a bigger crowd. We get to have a bigger service for our people.
Mhm.
I would love to see the presentation change just a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think that,
Give,
like they would also want to incorporate like barricades? Because I feel like that is one thing without having barricades, you guys are almost going to be more like I don't want to step outside of the ring and be working.
Mhm.
But that also expands on the match when there's a different environment in which you guys can actually go out and portray everything. So do you think that that would actually be a really big benefit for
Oh,
DOA
absolutely.
or yeah.
Absolutely. Like there would be no better benefit than to have barriers because not only can you do spots with them, it protects the fans from us.
Mhm.
Like it also protects us from certain fans who get handsy. I have been groped. I don't know how many times in wrestling. I'm just like, all right, man. Like I'll get over it right now. It ain't cool, but it's cool. Whatever. You know, I've had folks, grope the woman or try jumping into the ring. I've seen it before too. Um, and like I said, it would be so helpful if we could have more space to do these things and keep the fans back so that they're safe while we're doing it.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very interesting. So, like, let's kind of talk about you like cutting promos because I've seen like a quite a few clips of
Sure.
you cutting promos, whether it be with Sid Vicious or whatnot. Hold on, like that is
Sit
correct.
silent.
Sid Silent.
Sit
There you go.
silent.
I apologize.
Yeah, it's all good. No, no. Hey, I'm about to say, man, me and Vicious would have some great promos. Um, Again, I take the actor's approach. I I take Todd out of the equation.
Mhm.
When I chose my music, oh man, you didn't use Rick Ross, you didn't use like, the gangsters music, bro. I said, you know why? Because Caden Cassidy don't want to hear that shit. He wants something that's gonna stroke his ego.
Mhm.
Make way for the king, strokes his ego. They say I walk like a king, I talk like a king. You can ask around, they all say the same thing. Boom. Like, yeah, I'm the man. You know I'm the man. You can ask around. They all say I'm the man. You know what I mean? That's how I always see it. Um, Same thing with promos. How would this character interact with the world? How does he talk? How does he walk? I'm a very nice, bubbly guy. If I'm mad at you, you know I'm mad at you. And my decorum goes out the window. My body language, you know that I'm ready to hurt. So when I go to promos, I try to think of how best to get this person that I'm fighting over so people know that he's a challenge, but also not only how to get the match over, how to make them fear what I'm going to do to this guy. When I went to Canada, that was the first time we actually wrote a script. I did a voiceover. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, if I'm talking to somebody for the first time and they're telling me that they're going to take my money away from me, knowing I got 2 kids, knowing I got car payments, knowing I got expensive habits, we got a problem. So I take it serious as a heart attack. Oh my God, I forget his name right now. Something from Jalander right now. I'm so tired. He came up to me. Oh, Thunder from Jalander. He and I had a conversation about it, about the promo up there. I had a couple of fans ask me what it was about. I said, you know what it is, man? It's getting in that mindset. It's every one of us. And Cody, I know you got one too. That door, the mental door that we don't open up, and you know why we don't open it up? You're gonna find some shit in that door, right? Especially us as nerds and getting picked on as kids. You don't want to go behind that door. You're gonna find some problems behind that door. You're gonna find some dark thoughts behind that door. One of the things my dad used to say is, when you mad and you open that door, you take a risk every single time. So when I wrestle, I open the door. When I promo, I peek through it, because I want just enough of this animosity so you feel the pressure. There's that Funny Bone promo that I did for TPW with me in the parking lot. And they were like, do you want to go over some notes? Nope. Do you want to kind of, think about what you want to say? Nope. What do you want to do? I'm going to piss myself off, because here I am at a time where I thought I was going to retire. And you're telling me, again, this is me in character mode, you're coming to take my shit that I just got this. I'm making money. You're taking from me. You're taking from my kids. You're taking from my wife. That is a no. So I got myself mad. Now I'm in that space. Cool. Let me hold on to this. You ever see that movie Hook? Robin Williams? Cody, I swear to God, I'm going to hand it to you, and I'm going to homework. There's a part in the movie where he realizes he is Peter Pan. And they say you have to think of a happy thought. And he could not get the happy thought he needed to fly. But when he got it, they said, hold on to it. That's what it is to get into character. Holding on to the feeling. You're mad, hold on to it. You're happy, hold on to it, and make that character portray this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're also going through phases. Like you're talking about the promo of me and Sid. Hey, man, I'm the serious one. I'm out for blood. Sid wants to have fun and crack jokes. That's our dynamic. We're the Bulletproof Kings. We come out here, we run shit. We're towers, we're titans. We go home. We make money, we go home. That, to me, is a great little dynamic. But when I'm Caden and just Caden and as the Kingpin, me personally, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but I'm going to say that I know from fellow wrestlers, managers, and fans, I can cut a damn good promo. I can make you believe I am the biggest piece of dog shit walking in this ring. I can make you disgusted with some of the things that I'll say. The thing is like, bro, I'm talking clean, and I'm making you feel uncomfortable. Right? Imagine if I had full reign. It's also like, here's this guy who's like a wannabe king. He wants to rule it all. He wants to have his empire. He sits at the top of the tower, never anywhere but the top, because I look down at everybody else. So how do we interact with this world with knowing that? So like I said, it's a process for me, and those are the phases that I have to go through. These are the elements that I have to capture so that I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully
Well,
that makes sense.
yeah. No, absolutely. So you were voted for a couple of Powies this last year, where it was Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, and then Most Hated of the Year. So, like, how did it feel for you to even just be put into that category as far as nomination goes?
Good. Like, did I win any of them? No. I didn't have to win, though. I come from the backyard. So for me, I'm crafting my legacy every single day with this. To have fans, to have fellow wrestlers and promoters nominate me, saying, man, they hated your guts. Man, you had an awesome tag team this year. Man, you were so on your stuff that they would even consider putting me in the category. I'm honored. I'm flattered.
Mm-hmm.
I live a life of gratitude, and that's how I stay positive. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I would have loved to have gotten most hated if I was being honest. But at the same time, it's like when I saw that it was Jonas, I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah, go flip this dude's car over. I'm just, don't flip my Tesla over. Daddy want to make it home. I don't want to have to explain to nobody, including the insurance, what happened. Yeah, man, a couple fans got mad at me for calling them from trailer park hoes, bro. No, but I won't. But to answer your question, very, very short and sweet, man, like, it means a lot. I love it. I love I've gotten Rookie of the Year. I've gotten Most Improved of the Year at DOA. I've gotten these nominations. Like, man, like, the work speaks for itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there was one quote that I actually wanted to bring up to you, and you were actually on Facebook, and you were speaking about King Naja, and you had said that that's my motherfucking dog, my boy, my brother, my right hand. I seemingly can't imagine what the last year would have looked like had it not been in my corner. The phone calls to lift my spirits when I was on the shelf, giving me the best brotherly advice that I could have asked for. He's incredibly selfless, and of course, an incredible partner within the Empire in H4H. End quote. So, like, can you like walk us through exactly what you were meaning when you were typing all of that out?
Oh man, honestly, I was just amping the crowd. I wanted every single person to really be like, oh man, they're so close. Just so at DOA, when he sees me, but he betrayed me, I wanted it to hit that hard.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2,200 people following me between Facebook, on my Caden Cassidy page and my other page. I wanted every single person to see that and be like, man, they're so close. Oh man, I didn't know that Naja was there for him like that. Oh man, I didn't know that that he feels this way. So that when Naja, got me dead to rights with the cane in the face, and we started this most recent storyline, I wanted fans to hate his guts. Like, man, he loves you, man. He apologized for beating you down like that. Because the story is so multi-layered. And Naja was one of those strokes of genius where we just get along in real life. I love that dude. Love that guy. And I love how we in truth though, we do really lift each other up. But like the idea of quote unquote Marcus or Naja being the right hand, I was like, I don't want you to be a Virgil. I want you to be a guy who has stock. And so again, we looked to Daredevil, and I was like, Wesley. I do not put my face out there unless it's worth my time. So Wesley is going to go out there and make sure it's worth my time. If Wesley says it's okay, then I'm going to go out there and go work. But, same thing with Mark. If Mark says it's okay, I'm going to go out there and go work. If Mark says it's not okay, then I'm not going to waste my time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I wanted it. And I knew that eventually we were going to have that big split. And I just wanted it to matter. So that's pretty much what it was.
Yeah, that is awesome. So, here's like a good final question that I have for you before we actually end up closing everything out is like you had brought up that you have kids and everything. So how does it feel to be going throughout this career and then be able to at one point be able to show them everything that you've gone through and then be able to be like, you know what, if you actually focus and you're very passionate about something, you can have this kind of product. Like, how does that feel as a parent?
I call it my living legacy. And I tell them every time, I said, you are my living legacy. Everything that I do for you. I feed upon you daily. I want you to eat from my daily bread because this is what I'm providing you. I didn't have a great upbringing, and a lot of people know that I was raised with two parents who were sex workers. My grandfather was a drug runner and a gun runner at one point. It was hard, you know. So, having your house lit up with bullets, or your father being arrested out of his bedroom, or your mom, not being sober. I lived that life. So I never wanted my kids to have to see that. But on the other grand scheme of things, I wanted them to see their dad chase it. Out of my mother's two children, I am the only graduate. Out of my dad's children, I am his only son who's graduated college. And I graduated while working three jobs, with two sons, while buying my first house, buying my first $70,000 vehicle, all that stuff. Still graduated with a 3.5 GPA overall after a 4-year degree. With wrestling, I've won what, 8, 9 titles now over an 11-year career. I've worked from numerous promotions. I've had numerous tryouts. I've had WWE tryout. I've had AEW lookovers. I've had a Noah tryout. Like, it's all possible if you put in the work. My kids, I lovingly call them my prince and my duke. You are after me. Every single time I get a moment with them, what does daddy always say? Daddy loves me. Right. More than anything in this world. What is the other thing daddy says? Do better than me. Every time. I don't want you to do the exact same thing. I want you to do better than I ever did it. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a wrestler. You can go be a doctor, roboticist. My youngest son, I think he wants to get into sports. I tell him all the time, I say, like, you can do anything you want. But having wrestling, when I won my title at 5cc, there's pictures of me and my son. And everybody's like, what did that mean to you? I'm like, I cried. And it's such a weird thing because it's a small indie show, but I cried because I was supposed to be done. And my other family gave me the rub and gave me the ball. And I wanted my son to enjoy that moment. And so many folks were like, oh, but you're a bad guy, bro. Bad guys have kids too. And we're willing to do the bad things for those children.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
having my oldest son hold the title as I put on my fur coat, he said, Dad, it's so heavy when I put it on my shoulder. And I'm like, that's what the way of the world feels like, son. You get used to that. And he just like bucked it up on his shoulder. And he looked at me. I'm like, yeah, that's responsibility. Is it's hard. But like giving him these life lessons means so much to me. I can't do this forever. Even more so, I didn't get to the heights like my idols, which I'm okay with. I can live with that. I've done other things. I've inspired so many people. There's so many folks who look up to me, or we have a mutual respect. I have tape of me being an awful wrestler. I have tape of me being a great wrestler. And I love that I can show my kids that, or God forbid something happens. They have that ability to go back and look at all of that. This is what daddy used to do. This is daddy leaving the curtain. This is dad running the crowd. This is dad doing this move. This is dad saying this funny thing or doing that funny thing. There is evidence of my life documented for my children. That to me is one of the most beautiful things I can do for them.
Yeah. Well, that is amazing, man. And I just want to thank you for actually joining me here tonight, man. Like, it has been an absolute pleasure to sit down and actually talk with you. And one thing I wanted to tell you, just like a little interesting fact, was that it was actually 1 year ago tonight that I actually had my first ever pro wrestler interview. So it's really cool that
Awesome.
that I get to actually sit here and enjoy a 1 year anniversary with you.
Do me a favor, man. I wanted to get you a shirt the last time I saw you, but I ran out. DM me your shirt size because the next batch, I'll just put one aside for you.
That would be amazing, man. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
of course. Oh, you had one question that you were going to ask me, and I saw it and I smiled because you wanted to know what it meant. You said, you are the amalgamation of the hopes and dreams of every warrior before you. They are with you. Go forward. And I heard that from somebody, and it really made me I cried because it's truth. My grandmother, the same month that Jim Crow was abolished, my father was born. If I go back further, my grandmother herself is a lounge singer, very well known in Arkansas, turned down a contract for thousands for her children. My grandmother on my mother's side, raised on native land as a black and native little girl. Her father, was a slave who was freed, and so on and so forth. And I think about that, like how many times do they sit here screaming, crying, wishing things were different, wishing they could have a freedom, they could do the things that I do, they could go the places that I go. When people make jokes about like, oh man, I wish I was a time traveler. And I don't mean this sound as like political, but it's like I can't go many places, man. You know what I mean? I can't go that further back than maybe the 70s. So I think about that all the time and like, man, I am what they wanted. I'm everything they wanted to be. I have money. I have a beautiful, girl on my side. I drive good cars. I got smart kids. I have my own house. It's partially paid off. Like, I fight. I box. I do taekwondo. I've done judo. All these things. Like, man, I have done so many incredible things in this life. So when I say I am the hopes and dreams, I am everything they wish they had. I am a blessed man. So like I say, when I say those things, I say it because it hit home for me. I'm sure it hit home for somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, that definitely freaking hits home right now. I mean,
It's hard, dude. Like
yeah.
I think you're also a POC as well. Remember right?
POC? What do you mean?
A person of color. You have other stuff in you outside of
Oh yeah,
Caucasian.
yeah, mixed.
I thought so. I saw some of your features. And I was like Latino, bro.
Hola, vato.
There we go, my man. Mano. There you go. And like, it's like, I think of that stuff, and some folks just kind of like let it get away from them. It's like, don't get me wrong, man. Like, the world is different. But I'm like, if I could go back in, let's say, 100 years ago and speak to my people and tell them how different the world is, that'd be a beautiful moment. Like, hey, man, we did it.
Yeah.
We're not out the woods completely, but we're not exactly in the woods either.
Yeah.
And, knowing that my kids are next in line is a beautiful time. But anyway, it is late. I will show you two shirt designs that I'm working on personally, and then when they're available, I'll get you one of them.
All right, that sounds freaking awesome. Well, again, thank you so very much for joining me here tonight, and I cannot wait to see you when you actually return to Independence.
Bro, can't wait. I think it's going to be the 13th of April.
Nice. Awesome. Well, I
All
hope
right,
you
my
have a
dude.
very, very good night, man.
You too, brother. Good night.
All right, you guys. So that was Interesting's podcast interview with Caden Cassidy. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And remember, on March 29th, Interesting Podcast is going to have the very, very special guest of Josh Kane. This is going to be another interview you guys are not going to want to miss. So make sure you guys ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I go live. I'll catch you guys.